I pretended to be a 9/11 survivor. I gave speeches, appeared on TV shows, and told everyone about what I supposedly went through in 2001. I claimed I had lost my fiancé and that I met someone that day who asked me to deliver a wedding ring to his wife. I even became the leader of the survivors group in New York. But eventually they found out it was all a huge lie. How I pulled it off, what I told people, and how I was discovered. Let me take you through it. I'm Tania Head. There were actually a few people who pretended to be 9/11 survivors, but I became one of the most infamous because I came up with this elaborate story. I told a tale that moved everyone. On September 11th, I said I was in a meeting on the 78th floor of the South Tower when the first plane hit the North Tower at 8:46 a.m. I claimed my fiancé, Dave, worked in the North Tower as an investment consultant on a floor without elevator access. And yeah, this guy really existed. I'll get to what his family said later. But continuing here, at 9:02, the second plane hit the South Tower where I was, and this is where my heartbreaking story begins. I said I almost lost my arm in the aftermath, talked about how hot it was, and claimed I crawled through debris and dust to escape from the floor I was on. I even said I got a burn on my arm, and at that moment I met a man trapped in the rubble, crying. He supposedly gave me his wedding ring, asking me to deliver it to his wife, and I claimed I did. Later I said I found the woman and handed her the ring amidst all the chaos. I also said I was guided out of the building by a man who worked there, known as the man with the red bandana, a volunteer firefighter who saved a lot of people but sadly lost his life. What people didn't know was that I had studied the events closely and inserted real people into my story to make it seem believable. And for a while, it worked. I said I woke up 6 days after September 11th in a burn unit, where I was told my fiancé didn't make it. After September 11th, a group of about 500 survivors formed in New York, and I joined them. I practically led the group, organizing meetings, fundraising events, and even using my own money to help some of the survivors with their recovery. Because of my role among the survivors, they made me the face of the organization, and I started appearing on TV alongside politicians, even the mayor of New York. I gained some fame, and my story became well known, especially because I said I had lost my fiancé. All of this drew a lot of attention, but it also started raising suspicions. Some survivors noticed the burn mark on my arm and questioned if it really came from that day. Another red flag. While everyone else brought friends to the survivors' meetings, I never did, but nobody pressed me too hard. They just let it slide. Time passed, and in 2007, everything came crashing down. The New York Times launched an investigation and found out that Tania wasn't even my real name. They invited me to participate in an article, took my details, and I claimed I had a degree from Harvard and a master's from Stanford. But both universities said my name wasn't on any alumni lists. I also said I worked for an investment bank in the World Trade Center, but that bank didn't even have an office in the South Tower, and they had no record of an employee by my name. Growing more suspicious, they dug deeper and found out I wasn't even in the US on September 11th. I was in Barcelona, Spain, and I'm Spanish. My real name is Alicia Esteve Head, and I was enrolled in a business school in Barcelona. They spoke to some of my classmates, and they said I attended classes up until June 2001, and often talked about my dream of working in New York. They also discovered my family had money. When the whole story came out, the family of my so-called fiancé, Dave, said I never had a relationship with him. He didn't even know me. I had many more interviews and speaking engagements lined up, but of course I didn't show up for any of them. I disappeared. It seems like the last time anyone saw me was in 2008 in New York, and after that, nobody knows what happened to me. What do you think of my story?